Captain Underpants and the invasion of the incredibly naughty cafeteria ladies from outer space and the subsequent assault of the equally evil lunchroom zombie nerds. Hello, it's us again. Before you read this book, there's some things you should know. So Harold and I have created this information pamphlet to fill you in on the details. Please don't let this comic fall in the wrong hands. George Beard and Harl Hutchins present a Deny Everything production. Captain Wedgie Wars Underpants. Episode 1. The Phantom Principal. Long time ago, in an elementary school far away, there were two cool kids named George and Harold. We rule. Me too. They had an evil principal named Mr. Crop, who was strong in the ways of the Force. Blah, blah. He forced them to study. Blah, blah, blah. He forced them to glean. Blah, blah, blah. And he forced them to behave. Ha, ha, ha. So George and Harold hypnotized him. You will obey our every command. Snap. Okay. You are now Captain Underpants. Okay. Ha ha ha. It started out as a joke, but it wasn't funny for long. Ha 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 ha. Tra-la-la. Hey, come back. Mr. Crump thought he really was the world's greatest superhero. He got into all kinds of trouble. And George and Harold had to save him and the entire planet. Twice. Now the only way they can turn Captain Underpants back into Mr. Crump is to pour water over his head. But the worst part is that George and Harold have to keep an eye on him. Blah, blah, blah. Because for some strange reason, whenever he hears someone snap their fingers, snap, he turns back into you-know-who. Tra-la-la. So whatever you do, please don't snap your fingers around Mr. Crump. And please, you hurt the man. Please, please, please don't snap those fingers. This has been a public service announcement for George and Harold, who still deny everything. Treehouse Comics, Inc. Chapter 1. George and Harold. This is George Beard and Harl Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the right with the shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. If you were looking for a few words to describe George and Harold, you might come up with kind, smutty fur, determined and deep. Just ask their principal, Mr. Krupp. He'll tell you that Miss George and Harold are kind of funny looking, smart Alex who are determined to drive everybody off the deep end. But don't listen to him. George and Harold are actually very clever and good-hearted kids. Boys. The only problem is that they're fourth graders, and in George and Harold's school, fourth grade expected to sit still and pay attention for 7 hours a day. George and Harold are just not very good at that. The only thing George and Harold are good at is being silly. Unfortunately, Twin Harold's silliness gets them into trouble every now and then. Sometimes it gets them into a lot of trouble. And one time it got them into so much trouble, almost caused the entire Earth to be destroyed by an army of giant evil zombie nerds. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. The Evil Space Guys. Chapter 2. One dark, clear night in Piqua, Ohio, a flaming object was seen streaking across the quiet midnight sky. It shone brightly for a second or two, then fizzled out just above Jerome Horwitz's elementary school. Nobody gave it a second thought. The next day, everything seemed pretty normal. Nobody noticed any different about the school. No one paid attention to the roof, and of course, nobody looked up and said, "Hey, what's that spaceship thingy doing on the roof of our school?" Perhaps if they had, the horrible ordeal that followed might never have happened, and you wouldn't be sitting right here and reading about it right now. But they didn't. It did, and well, here we are. As we can all plainly see, there was a spaceship on the top of a building. And inside that spaceship were 3 of the most evil, hideous, and merciless spacemen ever to step foot on the roof of the small Midwestern elementary school. Their names were Zorks, Clax, and Jennifer. Their mission? To take over planet Earth. First, said Zorks, we must find a way to infiltrate the school. Then, said Clax, we will turn all the children into giant, superpowered evil dominators. Finally, said Jennifer, we will use them to take over the world. Zorks in class laughed and laughed. Silence, you fools, barked Jennifer. If our plan is going to work, we must wait until it is narratively convenient. In the meantime, we will watch their every move on our trinoclascope. Chapter 3. Fun of Science. Early that same morning, Dawn and Harold were sitting in their 10:15 a.m. science class, making silly noises. Meow. George mewed softly without moving his lips. Growled Harold without opening his mouth. There it is again, exclaimed the science teacher, Mr. Fide. I distinctly hear a cat and a dog in here. We didn't hear anything, the children said, trying not to laugh. I must be hearing things again. Mr. Fide worried. Maybe you should leave and go see the doctor, said George with concern. I can't, said Mr. Fide. Today is the big day. It's the day of the big volcano experiment. All the children groaned. Mr. Fry's science experiments were usually the most idiotic things on Earth. They almost never worked and were always boring. But today's experiment was different. Mr. Fry brought in a large fake-looking volcano that he made out of paper mache. He filled the volcano with a box of ordinary baking soda. Baking soda is also called sodium bicarbonate, explained Mr. Fry. Said Mr. Fry. Did any of you just hear? Never mind. Mr. Fry opened up a bottle of clear liquid. Now watch what happens when I pour vinegar into the baking soda, he said. The children watched as the tiny volcano started to rumble. Soon, a large group of foamy goops spurted out the top. The goop poured over the desk and dripped onto the floor, creating a huge mess. Oops, said Mr. Fry. I guess I used too much baking soda. Jordan Harold was stunned. How did you do that? asked Harold. Well, said Mr. Fry, the vinegar acts as a liberating agent which releases the gaseous carbonate radical element of the sodium bicarbonate. Mr. Fry paused. Excuse me, children. I've got to go see a doctor. Mr. Fry put on his coat and hurried out the door. George and Harold got up and studied the messy volcano experiment with great interest. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? asked George. I think I'm thinking what you're thinking, said Harold. Chapter 4, the setup. After school, the boys raced to George's house and got down to business. Jordan and Harold sat down and began creating a bogus cupcake recipe. We'll just add a box of baking soda and a bottle of vinegar in this recipe, said George, and whoever makes these cupcakes will get a big surprise. Let's add 2 boxes of baking soda and 2 bottles of vinegar to the recipe, said Harold. That way they'll get an even bigger surprise. Good idea, laughed George. Chapter 5. So guys, we'll stop here for today. I hope you enjoyed our Captain Underpants book, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!